Everybody, I want to thank you and welcome you to HISadvocates.tv. My name is Kelby. I'm doing a couple quick testings in the background, so work with me as I complete this. I think we're good. Man, it's been about 6 months since I've done one of these shows. I think since late October, early November. We did a lot of site work, and we ended up getting a site that was ambushed or crashed somehow. Literally everything 100%. So we built from scratch. In between all of that extra time that we have in doing what we do at His Advocates, which is trying to save people and make people free. I think the element of looking at the world today has never been more of an interesting element for me as a believer. Now, I'm going to take a perspective of a non-believer tonight, looking at the world, and I'm just going to tell you it's pretty scary. It's bleak and quite dark. We're having some of the most dastardly things done around the world by operators. And I'm not going to name them all. I'm not even going to touch on them. I'll touch on a couple of things, but not on everything. The scariest part about it is it's a design to bring people into a control and into submission. For me to watch that on the outside looking in, limited capital, realizing they're attacking our gas supply, our natural gas supply. They're attacking chemical plants all around the country, like one a day, some kind of disaster every single day. And these things all have purpose. And what you're seeing, unfortunately, is a play that has to be played out to round people up and get them into a position of submission. And it's been a play that's been perpetrated on populations throughout history. We are not the first people to ever experience this. And I would look at what's transpired in the last 1,000 years as kind of a breath of fresh air, if you will, that we are in a stage in the period of history that is no different than really any other period of history, except that what we see and how we were raised, biblically speaking, some of you weren't, many of you were. Some of you didn't believe the narratives of the Bible, and some of you looked at it as a philosophical instrument or historical document or partially historical or fabrications or stories or I'm okay with that. It's okay to have that opinion, and it's not my opinion, but it's okay. I can understand that when you haven't looked at that book and compared it to what is transpiring today. I'm going to throw in a couple of curves tonight, and I'm going to suggest to the believer base that you're about to get thrown a lot of curveballs. When you are expecting things that you've been taught in your church and they don't come, that is known as a curveball. And or you might be thinking it's not time yet, or maybe another population disappear off the face of the earth, and you're going to think, oh, I didn't go with them. And you're going to be correlating all these things in your mind as a very scary, oh my God, aha moment. This is how I was trained. I must therefore not being good enough. And you may have a falling away moment. The desires of our enemies are consistent with the desires of the enemy that's lying within the Word of God. Meaning, I'm watching the enemy do things like if God doesn't exist. I just saw something tonight that blew my mind. I just want you to think about these little statements. Like, if God doesn't exist, why does every movie star have to flash the all-seeing eye or the symbol 666? Like, every movie star, nearly everyone at some point in their life, or wear a shirt that says 666, or give allegiance to that whole diagram of what their industry stands for. And so if the devil, meaning their God, doesn't exist, there wouldn't be a need to try to trick you away from things of God or God himself, right? Meaning, if God doesn't exist, if the element of a creator of this universe was not real, why design a structure and a system that creates another God, a false God? Is it because there's some entity here that's all powerful that wants to be recognized as God? Maybe. Maybe it's just a power struggle we've always been dealing with. Maybe there is no Satan, as the Bible would suggest, and maybe the world just wants to make it suck for everybody else, and so they can be in total power and reduce the population in this world, and move away from meat into synthetics, and move away from medicines into preventative vaccinations, move away from these different things that could be good for you into things that have nothing to do with good for you. Why do they take a stance on everything that is bad if good didn't exist? I want you to just resonate on this for a sec with me. Go on Google when you have time, do a translation lookup, like you want to see what this word means. In the first box, you're going to put Latin, and you're going to put the word Nickelodeon in 3 parts. You'll be able to find this video, I'm sure, on YouTube to break it down for you. It means I have no God. Nickelodeon, you know, that famous cartoon channel for kids, the ones that has all these shows and different things that kind of steer kids away from God. And well, the name itself means I have no God in Latin. So I would suggest that that is not an accident. I'd suggest that many of the things that are being picked and designed and followed up with to a biblical proportion on this earth, the names of companies, the fact that companies are all incorporating 666 within their names or within their logos, I would have to incorporate and suggest that there is something here on this earth that is representing itself as Satan or Satan's son, if you believe that, and that we are in a stage in time in history like we've never been in before. See, I'm of that old adage that nothing is by happenstance, that everything is articulated. These guys that do they've been in thoughts for hundreds and hundreds of years. They're executing business plans that are extremely old. And it's only today that they've been able to accomplish the things that the Bible spoke about thousands of years ago. The mark of the beast is the mark of man, and his number is 666, something to that degree. Every Bible has a different way of executing Revelations 13. But you start looking at the technologies that are behind what they're starting to perpetrate towards man. And those technologies are dark, and those technologies have patents that match the number of the beast. Those technologies are moving away from cash into cashless. We have stores here in Orange County, California right now no longer accepting cash, if you can believe that. I think it still says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. And again, if you fold the bill in half, it says something totally different. And all of us kids got a giggle on that one, right? Remember that one? I'm trying to get some points across that why would, if God didn't exist, if the world, what's the purpose of making it so like the Bible suggests it's about to be? Why? Why carry out the plans of a mark of the beast? Why carry out the plans of a one world order? Why carry out the plans of a beast system? Why? If it's not real, if the Bible is not real and it doesn't exist, what is the purpose of completing the Bible if you're the enemy? Or to make the Bible exist and sound exactly like it was written about 2,000 years ago, as if, thank you for the roadmap. Thank you for the suggestions of what to do and what not to do. It's like we've got a guide. Now, I don't believe every single sentence is what Christians make it out to be, but I do believe in the general tense of the prophetic, and I believe in the general tense of the word. But what's crazy for me right now is the level of darkness that's hitting our lands. Like just a few years ago, there was no mask, thought of wearing one, the thought of needing one. There was no forced anything. You lived a free, unadulterated life. You could do what you want, just had to file your tax returns and stay clean. And you can make as much or as little. And today, there's a different level of thinking than we've ever had before. We're actually starting to think in the realm of, okay, we're moving out of cash. What do you do then? How do you control that? Well, if you're moving out of cash, that means if I don't stay within this confined area, they literally can control that my digits that I get from my phone, my whatever, will not able to be spent if I move out of this 5-mile radius. The levels of control going cashless are infinite. The levels of control and your ability to buy gold or silver anymore, you may not be able to. Don't get me wrong, there's people out there working out things for people like us in the private side. So we'll continue to be able to use digital, physical means of money to purchase. And there's not a thing they can do to stop that. I know they want to. I know they're trying to build fear factors up for everybody, but I'm seeing what's being laid out before us as if the Bible was opened up and we just are reading it. And I never thought I would say that to hundreds and hundreds of people on a live event. I never thought I'd say that. It's not that I wasn't a believer in watching what's transacting in this world. It's not like I didn't want to believe this narrative. It's not like I was ashamed. I was just, there's just no way this is going to play out like this. And even after fully believing in God, fully believing in the Son and the cross, I just didn't think they'd be able to execute it. What is the difference today than 10 years ago? Well, AI, number one, technology, blockchain, everything they have. You guys got to be listening because they're telling us what they're going to do. You got guys like Yuval Harari. You got to follow that guy. You got to watch what he's saying. I'm not saying because he's right. I'm not saying he's an evil prophet perpetrating a nightmare for people here on this earth. He wants everybody implanted with a below skin chip. He wants the ability to monitor and control everybody in this world, and he thinks of you as a useless eater. Well, they've been thinking about people a lot longer that way than you could ever believe. And quite frankly, there is a lot of useless eaters out there. Not saying I have a problem with people that don't contribute in this life, but there is a lot of useless eaters that do nothing but take. Does that mean they don't have a right to life? No, they do. But what we are watching right now is a transition. And we're watching, I think, two sides being played in a well orchestrated play like we've never really seen before. You've got a in my opinion, you've had some voter issues. In my opinion, who is in office is not the same guy that was in office with President Biden. That's just my opinion, and I base that on a lot of different things, based on video and different evidence of firsthand word of mouth from a Secret Service agent that was under Biden, who I got to meet his best friend in Washington, D.C., and they said it's two different people. You look at Biden's ear, and his ear is attached to his skin. Now, I mean, I'm guessing that if you're going to pull somebody's face back in plastic surgery, you might want to do that, but it's not going to look completely different. Like, look at old Biden pictures in his ear and look at new Biden pictures today, and they're just two different people. And new Biden is just, he's a slapdick. He's crazy. He's mental. He's falling everywhere he goes. He falls on bikes, falls up runways. He misleads people in thinking things are mandatory. He does whatever they tell him to do. He's a good puppet. He's a really good puppet. And he's serving who? China. Now, if you don't know this, I'm going to tell you why you should first. There is a corporate takeover of the United States corporation. United States is a corporation, Title 28, subsection 3002. And its exclusive jurisdiction lies within the limits of the District of Columbia, 9 UCC 307H. That's two quotes I just did in law to prove what I said. It means everything out of the United States is the United States of America within the continental United States. And Alaska and Guam, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, some of those are considered provinces or territories of the United States, but some of those are also considered states. My point for saying this is, when you start to look at the reason why you need to understand the structure of nations in this world, again, I'm not trying to pull the text of the Word of God out, but how does a entity, singularity, an entity called Babylon, referenced to as Babylon, get control of the entire world? Everybody, like, they all have an obligation to him now, or it. And you start looking at structures, and you start looking and you start getting the design of the world and what they've done and how they've controlled the world. And it's very kind of creepy and scary. But one of the things you need to know is the United States has been in bankruptcy and receivership for the last 90 years, since 1933. HJR 192. The people, because of the Social Security Administration, got employment with the United States and got lesser rights from that day forward in 1935 through the Social Security Administrative Act and becoming an employee of the United States. And because they've made those contracts, it's an employment agreement with the United States. They're agreeing to certain rights, privileges, and or quote unquote benefits that don't really match the level of tyranny that's being placed on them these days. But what you may or may not know, and it's okay, I get it, we're not all perfect in our knowledge, is that they're liquidating the United States right now, and fast. They've done the parks, they've done the ports, they've done the airports, and they're continuing. And now they want to do the people. And they're trying to bring a social credit score system into this nation that's already in China. And you're going to see a lot of things happening all at the same time. You're going to see a collapse of the economy. You're going to see interest rates going through the roof. You're going to see where you will not be able to obtain loans. The stock markets are going to fall. The bond markets are going to fall from a valuation standpoint, but everything that has inflation attached to it's going to rise. And people, in a flash of a moment, you're going to see a blackout. So power will go down, internet will go down, your banks and your accounts will go down. Cash will only be good for the next however many days it's dark. And then when they come up on the other side, they're going to have a new monetary system. And the only way you're going to be able to attach yourself to it is if you go in contract with it and make certain levels of agreement. And then that system is going to be the social credit score system. So you're going to have to do certain things to earn money. And if you don't earn digits, you're not going to be able to buy food. If you don't do what they say, you're not going to be able to pay your rent. And then you're going to ultimately end up saying, I can't afford this. And you're going to go check yourself into a FEMA camp based on your pastor's recommendation, because pastors don't understand the obligation largely of what a church is supposed to be there for. Many of these large churches have made deals with the FEMA camp that when stuff hits the fan, people are going to come to you and you're going to give them to us. Because, man, as a church, it's too costly to take care of people, right? I get it. I do. I get it. Why would you want to be a pastor and take care of people? I mean, that's an obligation when you got phone numbers to governmental offices that can help you. I get it. I get it. Maybe it's because it's your obligation as a church head. Maybe the original church was the government. Maybe their whole reason for 10% to the Levites was to operate and help the widows, the orphans, the people that have a need of food. And so that the structure of the government back in that day in getting those first fruits was able to proficiently run the 10 to 12% of the entire force and race of Israel, meaning the people, because that's how many people were in the tribe of the Levites, represented basically 1/12 of the population. So if you're going to charge a tithe, if you will, just think about doing right by the people, incorporating at least 10% of the people of your church to go to work and earn a wage and represent the ability to help you self-govern your people that are going to come to you in need. And it's okay, because you may get more tithes than you would expect by operating in honor on the quote-unquote tithing obligation of 10% that you use for the original Levites. Now, none of this is a put down, but it's just a fact, because this is a solution for people in the future. Instead of checking ourselves into FEMA camps, we're going to be checking ourselves into body politics. People that have spent time in getting their reserves up, people that have spent time in getting ready to plant seeds or planting seeds and getting their gardens up and going. And man, people are going to need help. You know, that we're going to need to be fruitful and multiply the sheep, the goats, the chickens, the rabbits, food. You don't think we're there? Maybe you didn't know this, but 100 is the number. I haven't validated or verified this, but 100 food processing plants have been burnt down by some crazy thing in the last 6-8 months. Hundreds and thousands of cows are just falling over dead. For the last 2 years, my farmer friends have been telling me the government was paying them to subsidize and burn their crops. We'll give you 150% of the value of your crops if you burn them. All the while opening up our borders, all the while reducing the level of lawful police support, meaning guys that are out there for the vested interest of the people to support them and indict people when they need to be indicted and run people through trial and send them to prison. There's not a lot of that going on anymore. So we have a nation that is absolutely being flushed down the toilet. And you have movements that are doing nothing more than trying to wake people up. And then you have, and I don't want to call it out, but the people that we really need are the church, not the head of the church, the body. We need them to become more than Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday. We need them to stand up and use every profitable dime in their wallet to do whatever they can to organize and to get the people to, and not organize through social media, organize old school. Get the people together in your community and talk about these things. Talk about the agendas that are being played out. And get in front of these people who are perpetrating the fraud at the county and the city levels and at the state, but that are perpetrating the fraud to complete the Agenda 2021, Agenda 30 timetables. Because if you don't know, they want everybody marked and chipped by the year 2026. 2 years and 8 months from now. If you don't know, they already got the next pandemic planned out. If you don't know, they've been talking about a world peace agreement based on climate for years. That's the ticket, maybe. The climate accord. This climate is, and don't get me wrong, I'm not making fun of climate change, of maybe what could be going on here in this world as changing degrees in the ocean. I think there's a lot more man-made stuff attaching itself to that than we are admitting. And I'm not talking CO2, carbon emissions, and stuff like that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying we don't have problems, but there's reasons why millions and millions of dead fish have been showing up on the shores around the world for the last 12 to 15 years. There's reasons for it. And it's man-made, and it's perpetrated, and it's for the plight of man, and it's for, hey, look at, this is what's going on in the world, and hey, look at, if we don't make a change right now, all of our fish are going to be dead. All of you are going to be dead. And they're so publicizing this, and so many scientists are behind this, and these scientists are standing locked arm in arm with this one world order accord to bring about the safety of the world through the sacrificial offering of human beings to reduce their carbon footprint to save Mother Earth. Literally. They have it in play right now to reduce the carbon footprint by death of mass amounts of people. This is the sick nature of what is happening in this world. Are you down? Are you playing ball yet? So the believer base, you have to pull your head. It's okay to watch football. It's okay to not want to work so hard. I get it. I want to take days off. I want to take more naps. I want to rest. I want to have fun with my friends. I get it. But for the large base of believers that are doing nothing between Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday, and they're just hanging out waiting for something to take effect, I got to tell you guys, it's you who is going to save this nation. It's you who we need to stand up against tyranny. Because I say this on my shows, and people, it's almost like they don't believe me. They say that's not possible. Listen to me. 500,000 kids disappear in this nation every year. 500,000. But that's not very important, and you never hear about that on the news. Another 250,000 adults disappear on this nation's soil every year, and that means they're gone. This is the FBI website. So you got the equivalent of almost 1 million people a year disappearing every year. For what? To where? What kind of operation is that big that can pull that off? sex trade, kidnapping, all of that. How big is that operation? How in depth is the United States government in cahoots with the bad guys to pull off those types of events? Why would there be such a need for that many people? Why is there a couple hundred deep underground military bases on our soil? Why did they connect all of them with underground tunnel systems? Why? What's the purpose? We just need something happening? Is there a star about to hit us? Planet about to hit us? Some things we don't know? Are they trying to hide their faces before God? I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that everything I just said to you is absolutely true. And for most believers, they don't give it any credit whatsoever. They just want to keep paying their taxes and keep participating in the system that is attached to the whore of Babylon on this earth. And let me explain that to you. Every single company that represents itself as a country is registered under the Securities and Exchange Commission in Washington, D.C. Yes, it's true. And everybody has their life equivalent birth certificate, which is printed, their live born record is printed on a birth certificate. And that birth certificate is given a QSIP, and they're traded on the DTCC, the GMEI utility website, and invested in, and they are monetized and securitized, meaning their life equivalent, their birth certificate, is on 32-pound watermark banknote paper, and they themselves, the living man or woman, are the surety and the collateral to that instrument. Why does that matter, Kelby? Because the entire world, listen to me, is under that system of the United States corporation. You know, the Statue of Liberty in New York, the representation of freedom, truth, justice, and liberty. You know, everybody has been made and is collateralized, and you all have become unknowingly the surety, the collateral for the debt instrument, much like a deed of trust is to a note and vice versa. You are operating as the surety and the collateral for that instrument, the BC, that is being traded and invested in all over the world by all these big companies. You. That attachment where you go and you now go and work for the United States, and you go and earn revenue and pay 30, 40, 50, 60% in taxes. You're actually paying 70 to 80, and you don't know it because you have state tax, gas tax, food tax, this the other tax. You are completely involved in the whore system. And yet you are still the monetization, collateral, surety, and guarantee for the debt. Well, what I'm about to say is going to hurt. And if you don't think it's real, it's the only way the Chinese government are going to be able to institute it legally. They are the biggest bondholders of the debt of the United States. And you being the surety and the collateral, they are coming after the collateral, which are these bonds that are defunct. The Chinese government wants you now to pony up, get chipped and marked and identified and controlled as property and patentable of the Chinese Communist Party. And whole Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and are all a part of this big hostile corporate takeover that's bringing in the red dragon of the Bible onto our soil. Now, we've got about 2 years of watching this either play out and do nothing or fight. I'm with you. I'm with you either way. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to lock arm in arm and we're going to fight this together. But information is critical and people don't know this. They don't know that there's a chip out there with the number 060606 on patent scope. They don't know, like, thank you, Alexander, there's millions of people a year raiding this country by design. They don't know what they don't know because they got their head in the sand. They don't want to give up their cushy lives. And can you blame them? We've got pretty good lives here. Really cushy, juicy, easy. What happens when it doesn't get so easy? You're gonna be, is that the time? No, you're gonna be a lobster cooking by that time. We have to deal with the corporation. We have to kick this corporation into the right path. But I'm going to tell you right now, you can't fix the corporation. It's not doable. The debt is too big. But you can restructure and do a new deal and wash your hands of the old deal and reinstitute the republic. That's a whole nother dialogue. But we are coming face to face with the dragon. It's in a biblical sense. It's a little scary. I get it. But we're here. And we can't turn over here and over there and wait for our buddies anymore. We have to get videos like this out. People that tell the truth. You gotta share, and then you gotta set up meetings and talk and let people like me come there and talk and just share the data. And you know what? These meetings are infiltrated with high-level CIA, FBI trying to dismantle and take apart the whole ideology of freedom. Why would they do that? Don't they love the greatest nation on earth? Many of them don't. The FBI today isn't even what it was 10 years ago. I know that firsthand from friends that used to work there. But we, as a body of people, can look left and right, lock arms in arms without being considered terrorists and restructure things and do it right. And we've got about 2 years. It's either going to be one way or the other by the end of 2026. Now, I'm not thinking we can't push the timetable a little bit out. I think we can. But, man, it's going to be based in regions. You're going to see regions that are locked down, and you're going to see regions that are still open. I've been talking about this for a long time, the separation, the dividing of this nation. I've been talking about that for a long time. I see that. But I'm asking you, my friends, my dear, dear friends, take this very serious. Stop being entertained. Start realizing we have to wake up and do something. There's millions of people and all kinds of artificial intelligence working against us on a moment-by-moment, day-by-day basis. This is a war against freedom. This is a war against God. This is a war, and I hate to tell you this, but we do win in the end. And it's the people that are out that will not partake in the plagues and will not have given themselves over to the jurisdiction of that company and or the debt of that bondholder known as China. We don't have to face them and say anything because we're out. I look forward to the days when we're locked arm in arm, and I look forward to the days when we have the de jure republics re-inhabited again, and we're securing it with a sword in one hand and a wall-building arm in the other, and we are doing it locked arm in arms. And yeah, I look forward to the prayer element too, because we're going to need God for all of this and all the way through. And so thank you for coming and visiting. I know it's been 4 or 5 months. I'm looking forward to being back in the seat on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. We have a new show, Man Cave Classified, Saturdays at 4 and Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific. It's two guys talking. It's a lot of fun. And we have HISadvocates.org. We're the only ones out there that I know of that are doing this right. Anybody out there that's professing national of the United States, state national, talking about they're listen, they don't know what they're talking about. You will not find Supreme Court rulings that protect nationals. Those are created words by the United States. State of the Union citizens. It's a body of people. In their own dictionary, it confirms it, which means we have the opportunity to be free under God as a body of people under God, known as a state citizenship here right on this land. Jurisdiction is wanting at that time. And we're dealing with battling things that we have never faced before. And this is the spirit side, the spirit element, where maybe just praying a little differently. But waking up, and after you get out of that pew on Sunday or Saturday or whatever it is, and you go to work, you got to start manifesting a life of Christ, or manifesting that believing life, and supporting other people that need our help. And we need a believing body in a big way, ready to go to fight tyranny, feed people, have land and support, shelter and support, whatever is needed. We need the body to wake up and do what the body is supposed to do. Homeland Security is not the body. We're not supposed to be leading people into FEMA camps, because those are death camps. I promise you that. They are not for the people. They are not for their well-being. So anybody that's considering going into those, run. And so God, He loves you. And I am at this point in my relationship where I am excited to see what is happening. And we even have a prayer call on Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific. I don't ask for anything from it. I don't ask for a tithe. I don't ask for anything other than to have the opportunity to pray with you guys. And I look forward to it. If you get a moment, we have, let me see here. We have, shoot, where is it? Where's my banner? Do me a favor, right there. Text freedom to 855-452-0499 if you're watching this for the first time. That's how we give notices to people. We text people. You can also download our app on your phone. HISadvocates. It's an app. You can watch this live on HISadvocates. We also do what's known as push notifications. And we're on 4 major networks: Roku, Amazon Fire, Android TV, and believe it or not, Apple TV. So we've been thinking about this and doing a lot of work for the last 6 months. We haven't been sitting around idly. I think it was the best thing in the world that YouTube shut my channel down. But today we hit a massive amount of 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you. It's a lot less than it was before, but at least we're back and we don't have any strikes, and it's because we're talking about things very carefully now. God bless you guys. Like and subscribe. Forward out our information to your family and friends and get them involved. We need to stop being passively sitting idly. God bless. Have a great week.